Oh, you want me to
Good
do my own
evening, good
introduction?
evening, good evening, good evening, good evening, good evening.
Have you lost your mind, Malcolm?
I'm getting in trouble all the time, y'all. Welcome, welcome, welcome to another edition of
It's hard to find good help, folks.
It's hard to
Hard to find
find.
good help.
It's hard to find good help. I feel you burning me up over there. Welcome everybody to the Wisdom Walk with Dr. Annette show on Real Talk 100 Radio. Everybody, you caught us doing a little behind the scenes bloopers, and that's all right. Bloopers count sometimes, especially when they're funny and humorous. But thank you for tuning in once again. Whether you're watching the whether you're watching the recap or watching us live. Tonight, we're going to talk about personal injury. Everybody, personal injury. Whether you've been in an accident in a car, on a bus, a train, wherever, slip and fall in a restaurant or a grocery store. This show is for you. I saw you guys on my Facebook page earlier. We've already got interest from like
Mm-hmm.
6 people where they tagged individuals and their family and their
Mm-hmm.
friends
Mm-hmm.
saying this show is for y'all. Y'all need to watch it. So
Mm-hmm.
hopefully that branch of trees grew out to a bunch of people. So that's what we're hoping, y'all. I see y'all are tuning in. Thank you, thank you,
Mm-hmm.
thank you. If you're watching and you have any trouble with the broadcast, make sure you know that we're broadcasting live on Real Talk 100 Radio from our YouTube page, our Twitter page, our Instagram page, and our Facebook page. So you can get out of wherever you're in and go to another broadcast seamlessly. With no more further ado, we're going to get into this show, y'all. We're going to introduce you to the star of the show. Her name is Dr. Annette Williams, everybody, and we're going to bring her in something like
Uh-oh.
this. Hello, hello, Dr. Annette. How are you this morning? This evening?
I'm doing well, and
I'm,
you?
I'm not too good. I'm bloopering all over the place on your show, and I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's okay.
But I'll be all right. I'll
All
be
right.
all right. How's your week been so far?
So far, so good.
Good.
Yeah, and yours?
Pretty good.
Okay.
Pretty good. Pretty good until you walked in, and I don't know how to talk anymore. But
Here we go.
I'll
Here
be
we
all
go, folks. Here we go. Okay, let me go get my boots.
I'm spreading it on.
I already told you about the dairy. Don't make me act a fool in here, okay?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. I will behave. We have Janice Johnson Senegal already tuned in.
Hey, Janice. Welcome back from the Bahamas.
She says, "Good evening."
Yeah.
From this point forward, I will do my job behind the scenes. Everybody, y'all enjoy the show.
Okay. All right. Well, again, welcome everyone to the Wisdom Walk. I am your host, Dr. Annette Williams. This is the second show for this month. There are 2 more shows planned for this month. And if you did not tune in last week, you know that my final show is the last Friday of this month. And not because I want to, I love this, but because my mom requires my care and I need to be available for her. So, and some of you who are caregivers understand that. And maybe at some point, if God says something different, we'll bring the show back. But anyway, I'm super excited tonight to have attorney Cynthia Huerta. Did I mess it up?
No, that's perfect.
Good, good, good. I have known Cynthia for many years, and we actually met at church.
Mm-hmm.
And so, how long has it been?
I want to say about 15 years.
It's been that long?
I think so.
Wow.
I think so.
That was before I had gray hair.
I don't see any gray hair.
No, you don't.
Neither you nor I have gray hair.
Okay.
Okay.
Miss Clairol. I just want you to know that. But that was before I had to start using Miss Clairol. But I'm so happy to have you here. She is a wealth of knowledge, folks. As Malcolm says, she is a personal injury attorney. But guess what? I wanted her here because there is more to personal injury than just the settlement. And that's what people think. You know, we hear the commercials, you know, Jim Adler, the tough lawyer and all of that. And I got that person millions. And that's what we think. But there's, right?
I'm Jim Adler.
Yeah.
Texas. I'm giving him free items. Let me shut up.
Okay. But it's true. And so we are inundated with the settlement piece. But there's a whole nother piece to that. And we're going to talk about that right now. So let's just jump in. Welcome again.
Thank you. Thank you.
So,
Thanks for having me on your show. I really appreciate it.
oh,
I'm
I
very honored to
appreciate you
be
being
with
here.
you.
Yes,
Yes.
thank you. So, the first thing is I want to know what prompted you to become a lawyer.
You know, that's kind of a question that's just not one answer.
Okay.
It's not one big event that
Mhm.
occurred. As I look back, there are several small events all leading up to it.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's kind of just part of life.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I don't know about you or Malcolm if you all decided early on if you become what you became today. But for me, as I was thinking about this question,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I think the first thing is my upbringing.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Mhm.
I was blessed to have 3 older brothers.
Mm-hmm.
And I think having 3 older brothers just really influenced me, shaped me
Mm-hmm.
from a young age, learning how to fight with my brothers,
Mm-hmm.
learning how to negotiate with my brothers, persuade them.
Mm-hmm.
And then fast forward, my oldest brother, Arturo,
Mm-hmm.
very smart, like Mensa smart.
Mm-hmm.
And he knew that we all needed higher education.
Mm-hmm.
And so he paved the way for us to look, you have to go to college.
Awesome.
And so went to college. And then I had a great opportunity to go intern
Mm-hmm.
at the Texas State of Representatives.
Mm-hmm.
And that was eye-opening.
Mm-hmm.
And I loved the intensity of the
Mhm.
work,
Mm-hmm.
and I loved the fast pace.
Mm-hmm.
Fast forward, my best friend in college suddenly couldn't hang out with me.
Mm-hmm.
And she was taking this course to prepare for the LSAT.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I didn't know that the LSAT is a test you take to get into law school.
Mm-hmm.
And so I thought, well, that sounds interesting. Let me do that.
Mhm.
Took the test, got my results, and then applied to law school.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, I'm talking about these steps going forward, but then in law school, took a step back because in law school, I decided I don't want to be a lawyer.
Mm-hmm.
And with the gentle prodding of my mother, she said, isn't there a test you have to take to become a lawyer? Because once you graduate from law school, that's not it.
Right.
You got to take and pass the bar exam. And so I thought, okay, I'll take the bar. So I took the bar exam and then passed.
Mm.
And my first job, the lawyer at this firm, it was a small firm, he had to go to trial
Mm-hmm.
and he needed help. And a lawyer who helps the main lawyer is called second chair.
Mm-hmm.
So he asked me to second chair. I had no experience. We go to trial. And it's finally at that moment that I'm like, this is what I want to do.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So it took me a long time and a long path to figure it out.
Mm-hmm.
But once I did, then I just kept going.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Good. So you are a trial/personal injury lawyer.
They're one and the same. Yes.
One and the same.
Yes.
Okay. All right. So tell us what a personal injury lawyer does.
Okay. So a personal injury lawyer is a specialty.
Mm-hmm.
And I deal with legal disputes that involve one party or multiple parties' negligence that cause physical harm to another person.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So Malcolm read off the kind of cases that are involved in personal injury. You know, you've got a whole wide range of cases that fall under that umbrella.
Mm-hmm.
And it deals with negligence.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not that simple
Mm-hmm.
because
Mm-hmm.
each type of personal injury sometimes has different laws, different procedures, different deadlines. So it's very varied.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right. So, why is, I have to go back. So I asked about what a personal lawyer does, and why is being a trial lawyer critical? Why is it a critical piece to the personal injury case?
It so is, Annette. And the defendants, people who are being sued, more times than not, it's an insurance company that's making the decision.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. That insurance company makes a decision on how much they're going to offer to settle a case.
Mm-hmm.
And they have a whole list of things that they consider. But as a personal injury lawyer, if I don't have the tools,
Mm.
The know-how, and the experience, and the financial backing to take the case all the way to trial, it makes a difference. You need a lawyer who's not going to just settle your case before having to file a lawsuit. You need someone, a personal injury lawyer has to understand all the rules of procedure, of evidence, so that when they get into the trial part, first it's the litigation part, and then the trial part, you're confident that your lawyer can take you all the way to the end. And that's critically important.
I want to go back though, because you said you don't want a lawyer who's going to just settle. Is that what you said?
Yes.
Yeah.
It's important that, and there's not just one thing. It's not a one size fits all. But there are some cases where pre-suit, the insurance company may value it here. Once I file a lawsuit, they are willing to spend here. If you go and litigate it, it could be here.
Okay.
If you're willing to take it to trial and show up for trial fully prepared, the value may be here.
Wow. Yeah.
And that's what makes a difference.
Okay.
Absolutely.
So their goal really is to offer, if you'll settle, let's run away with it. But they know, at that point, if they're settling, that there must be something to this case, and they're praying that we don't go to trial.
Right.
Yeah.
Because trial it's unpredictable.
Yeah.
As prepared as you may be, no one knows what the jury's going to do. And there's all kinds of forecasting that people try to do, but no one really knows, because there's 12 individuals with their whole life experiences that are going to make a decision on a case. And so yes, I believe insurance companies absolutely value the cases differently at the time of trial than pre-trial.
Okay. All right. So did becoming a personal injury lawyer, did that require any additional training outside of what is necessary to become an attorney?
Yeah.
Okay.
So when you graduate from law school and you sit for the bar exam, you can practice any kind of law.
Okay.
But are you competent to handle that area of law? And so in personal injury, there are so many nuances, so many things you have to understand to be able to really practice in personal injury in that space, that there's not a test you take, but there's so many rules that you have to be familiar with. So it's a specialty. In other words, the point that I'm making here is that someone who dabbles in divorce and personal injury and wills and trusts and estates, they may be good at it, but it's such a specialized area of law.
Right.
I would want someone who does that exclusively.
Right. Okay. Interesting. Okay. So you listed different kinds of personal injury claims that you handle. Can you briefly explain just a little bit more what those are? Because I didn't even think about slips and falls. I didn't think about that.
Yeah.
And you and I had a conversation, and I won't divulge, the other day about something in a salon. Didn't even think about it. So explain to the audience what personal injury looks like.
Yeah. So when I was talking to you, Annette, about these types of cases, and I'm going to talk to you about not only the kinds of cases, but also I'd like to give your listeners a little bit of some tips on what to do in the event they're faced with something like this. Okay. So the most common one, obviously, is car wrecks. And they become so common that sometimes I think people maybe give them a lesser value. I don't. Okay. Because even though they're common, they do cause some people really severe injuries. And so the first one is a car accident. More times than not, the person has insurance, but sometimes they don't, which is why underinsured motorist coverage is really important. And so car wreck's pretty simple in terms of usually it's two parties: person who got hit, person who got who struck, person who got hit. More times than not, there's insurance. Sometimes they're not. But when a person gets into a car accident, My clients tell me all the time, they were really shaken up.
Mm.
And if you're cool-minded, to take out your phone and start taking pictures. But in the moment, when you're kind of shaky and you're not really thinking about all of this, people forget. And so what I would tell your listeners is take your phone out. Like, kind of train your mind. Take your phone out and not only take pictures of the vehicles, but I had one case years ago where this lady agreed not to call the police. She felt sad for the guy. He was like begging her, please don't call the police. Please don't call the police. But she had, say, the wisdom to take her phone out, ask for his ID, take a picture of it. Okay. And then just took pictures of the vehicles. Fast forward, the insurance company doesn't want to pay her claim.
Oh.
And the reason is because he left the scene, drove to a nearby police station.
Oh, my goodness.
And reported her accident as a hit and run. She caused it and she fled. So you never know what people are going to do when they leave the crash scene.
Yes.
Right? And so, luckily, we had the picture of his ID. Which shows she talked to the guy.
Yes.
And then they paid the claim. So car accidents, pretty straightforward, but use your cell phone.
Yeah.
Use your cell phone, gather evidence while it's fresh. Otherwise it gets lost.
Guys, are you listening? Use your cell phones. Okay.
And take pictures of, what do you take pictures of? Not only your vehicle, but the other driver's vehicle. If you're at an intersection, do a quick video of the intersection. If there's a light sequence, take a video of the light sequence. Those are just some things.
And I would have never thought of that.
Yeah, and then the driver's license.
Yeah.
Because again, people's stories do change.
Yeah.
And if you're able, and the person's clearly at fault, just call their insurance company right then and there, tell them what happened, and then they say it was my fault. Because when they leave the scene, obviously stories change.
Yes.
So those are car accidents. And then there's trucking accidents, which you would think they'd be similar, but they're really not.
Wow.
Because again, it's still a personal injury claim, but in trucking cases, you've got the federal motor carrier safety regulations you have to evaluate. You have to know what the truckers' standards are, what they're required to do, but also what the trucking company is required to do. The paperwork they're required to keep, the logs they're required to keep.
Oh, meticulous.
The hours of service they're required to fall within.
Right.
And so, so someone who does a car wreck only isn't necessarily going to be a good fit for a trucking wreck, because you want to make sure that lawyer knows the federal motor carrier safety regulations and also the Texas motor carrier safety regulations. And obviously with the trucking cases, a lot of times the injuries tend to be more severe, depending, they can be very severe in a car wreck as well. But in a trucking wreck, you've got a lot more force and a lot more weight. Okay.
So I want to stop you just for a minute. So what you're saying is that when you're talking about all of these logs and things, all of that supports, I guess, the litigation piece, because were you working past this 8 hours?
Exactly.
Did you log your miles? Are you over whatever?
Yeah.
Okay. So I never even thought about that.
So, is the driver fatigued?
Yeah.
Is the driver sleepy? When did he last stop? Is he driving past his hours?
Yeah.
And then, if I know where they stopped, well, what did you do with that stop? You'd be surprised that you hear sometimes.
Ooh, okay.
Yeah.
Give us the tea. Give us the tea, Cynthia. What's happening when these truckers are stopping?
No, but things happen.
Yeah.
Things happen, and sometimes where they say they stopped, they weren't actually stopped.
Yeah. Okay.
And so, and these are just things, because it's the plaintiff's job to build the case.
Mm-hmm.
So in every case, I have got to gather the evidence. I'm building.
Mm-hmm.
The defense lawyer's job is just to,
Mm-hmm.
okay, and they're going to complain that I'm minimizing what they do, but their job is to minimize my case.
Yes.
And say, oh, you're not that hurt.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And my driver's not at fault.
Yeah. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And so if you can show inconsistencies,
Mm-hmm. Or you had that back injury before. And,
oh, that's so common.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
You're 50 years old, so you obviously have back injuries for a long time.
Yeah. Yeah.
Says the insurance company.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay.
Mhm.
Okay. All right. Slips and falls.
Yes. And there's a whole bunch of other cases, but yeah, slip and falls.
Yeah.
So slip and falls, also known as premise liability cases.
Mm-hmm.
Again, it's a whole other area of law.
Wow.
It's not like a car accident
Mm-hmm.
case.
Mm-hmm.
It's not like a trucking case. And there's a lot of case law.
Mhm.
So, there's codes that talk about what a building needs to have to be safe.
Mm.
For example, say one case, woman's walking down the stairs, doesn't see that the last step is double the size of the previous stairs.
Mm.
Loses her balance and falls.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
The defendant's position is, so what? She'd have seen it.
Mm. Oh, okay. Yeah.
If you're paying attention, you would have seen it. But there are codes that say
Mm-hmm.
that the stairs have to be of uniform size.
Wow.
And I think it's 3/8 of an inch.
Mm-hmm.
That's the differential that's allowed.
Okay.
So you have to be familiar with those codes to understand what do we have here,
Mm-hmm.
or have an expert who can explain it to you.
Right. Right.
And then secondly, the case law on slips and falls is
Mhm.
pretty hard in Texas.
Mm.
It's pretty hard. And so as a plaintiff, you have to show that it's unreasonably dangerous
Mm-hmm.
and that they knew about it.
Mm-hmm.
Well, take a scenario where you've got some water in a grocery store
Yeah. Yeah.
and you have to rely on them to provide you with all the information. How
Mhm.
long, how
Oh,
can you
yeah.
prove how long that water was there, for
Mhm.
example?
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Yeah. Yeah.
But slips, trips, and falls can be a defect. What I see most often in my cases is the stairs, parts of it missing or non-compliance with the code, things
Mhm.
like that,
Mhm.
that cause people to lose their balance and fall.
Mhm.
So those are another kind of case. You've got dog bite cases too.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm. Mhm.
And those can be really, especially when it involves children,
Yes.
really traumatizing because
Mhm.
those injuries it's not just physical.
Right.
You
Right.
know, it's not
So
just
now we're
physical.
getting into the mental piece, So we have any questions, Malcolm?
A couple we have not any questions yet,
Mhm.
but we have Miss Sampay is tuned in. Miss Rochelle is tuned in on Instagram. She says hello.
Hey, Donna.
She says she's going to be flipping back and forth
Oh, okay.
from each platform.
Mhm, mhm.
Pertaining to the accident where the gentleman had the wreck and then pulled over to the police station and
Mhm.
said somebody hit and ran me,
Mhm.
did a hit and run on me, and he went and reported her. She said, "Oh, he was trying to pull a fast one."
Oh, okay.
We're being shared. The show is being shared
Great.
in West Virginia
Yeah.
by Miss Della Newman. So that leads me to my question:
Mhm.
if she or somebody in her family or friends list were to have an accident, do you guys represent out of state or is it just in state?
I represent families and people in Texas
Mhm.
Okay.
because the laws in Texas may not be the same as the laws in Florida
Okay.
or other states.
Okay. All right. Miss Della Newman, thank you for the share.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Do you have anyone you could refer her to?
If she wants to email me, and I can see if I have a contact in that whatever state she's in.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
The only other comment is Miss Janice Johnson, Senegal. She said she shared it. Please tag anyone in the comments
Mhm.
who need a personal injury attorney. We have Miss Cynthia Herta, Esquire, in the building. Back to the Wisdom Walk with Dr. Annette show.
Okay. All right. So I've talked about us being bombarded with all of these ads. So now I want to get into the mental piece, the emotional piece of law. I'm learning something just by listening to you. I didn't know that there were different, I guess, areas of personal injury that require an expert per se who just focuses on slip, trips, and falls, and so on and so forth. So, talk about the physical therapy piece, the occupational therapy component, psychological component, and just everything that it takes to make a case. When someone comes to you, what are you looking for? And what are you thinking? Where are your wheels? It's like, oh, okay. Yeah, no. All right.
So case evaluation is what you're asking me, like, what do I look for? And the first thing I want to know is what happened. And negligence is falling beneath the ordinary beneath ordinary care. Okay. So when they tell me what happened, in my mind, I'm evaluating the defendant's actions or inaction, do something that fell below the ordinary care. And that may seem like a simple analysis, but it's really not. Okay. And then the next thing is, what are the injuries? And so usually if someone comes to me early on, and they've never been involved in this process, it's so difficult for many people to ask for help. There's and I got to talk to you a little bit about this, but there is a reluctance, I may even call it just like a big barrier for some people to believe it's okay for them to ask for the help in the legal process.
Why? What have you heard?
So I'll give you one example. One woman had a work injury. And if the case had gone forward, I feel comfortable that we could have made a recovery for her. But she felt that she did not want to file a suit because they didn't offer anything pre-suit. And she just felt bad about it. She just felt so bad that she was doing something wrong by filing a lawsuit against her employer. And so when we talked about it, though, and I won't reveal what we discussed, but there is a whole legal process that's already in place that gives people the right and the green light to avail themselves of this process.
Wow. Okay.
It's not something that you're doing wrong or that you shouldn't be doing. Sometimes people start talking about lawsuit abuse and things like that. When someone's hurt and it affects not only their well-being, but their family's well-being.
Yes.
And it's caused by somebody else's negligence, there's an avenue for relief.
Yes.
And so I would say that the psychological barrier is allowing themselves to get the help. I had one person once tell me, even though I thought he had a valid claim, God's not going to bless me.
Oh, wow. Wow.
And that hurt.
Yeah.
That hurt. And there's just a belief that it's either too hard or it's not right, but there's already a huge negativity that's got to be overcome. But if they can get past that and allow me to help them, and also have the assurance that I'm going to help them every step of the way.
Yes.
Because in litigation, the defense is going to want to take the deposition. And that scares people
It does.
a lot.
Yes.
And so, I will help them, I will coach them, and they will be fine. And so once they have assurance, I think it helps them. But when a person's injured, whether it's at work or at a car accident or any type of injury, pain is a thief. And when you're in pain, Your sense of humor is affected. Your sleep is affected. And if you can't work even for a couple of days, that takes a lot of people out of their safety net.
That's right. Yeah.
Under it.
Yeah.
And then it causes a whole other set of problems.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then you've got an insurance company making a decision that your pain isn't really worth that much.
Yeah, exactly.
It's a long battle.
Yeah.
It can be a very long battle.
Yeah. You are also.
Sorry.
Oh, what happened?
I was trying to share it.
Oh, okay. All right. Okay. Now this is later, but now I understand, because one of the questions is about, I guess, payment or reimbursement for attorneys. Now I understand. I'm understanding the legwork behind that.
Sure.
Yeah, and there's a lot. So okay, all right. So, the components. Are there any other components to personal injury that we have not addressed?
Oh, there's so many.
So many.
So many.
Okay. Okay.
Because it's the person as well. Each case is case by case.
Yeah.
Every person is different. So every case is different. Every person's injury and pain tolerance and recovery is different. Those are huge factors. Who's the judge?
Right. Okay. All right. Call in, folks, with your questions. Okay. So my next question is, how are the physical pain, the loss, financial loss, how is all of that weighed in making a determination about what a client will recover? X number of therapy sessions, physical therapy, X number of mental health sessions. How do you come up with a formula for that? And then talk about the aftercare piece, because it doesn't just end there. I know that's part of the process, if you will, but there are some people who will need care after that. So how do you configure all of that? And how do you make a determination about what it's worth in essence?
Right. And I wish there were an easy answer. I wish I could tell you there's a formula, and the formula is X. There isn't. The medical treatment is a big component, but sometimes it's not. And lost wages is a component if they have it and can prove it. So we're talking about two things. One is the insurance company's assessment of what the case is worth. And I've had situations where a person was injured, did physical therapy. Normally what the progression is physical therapy. And then if there's still pain, then they will get diagnostic testing. And then if there's a positive finding and they have completed physical therapy, then they move on to like another higher level of care. And sometimes people don't want to move on to the higher level of care. They want to just stay in physical therapy. They feel like it's helping them some, and that they're hopeful that maybe in 6 months they'll be totally fine and they won't need injections, or they won't need other things. But insurance companies won't take that in consideration when making the offers of settlements. A lot of times they won't. Their position will be, not putting a number out there, but it's a very low number of the number of physical therapy sessions that they'll approve to pay.
Okay.
So an insurance company has one way of evaluating it, and if we don't get it resolved with that, then the jury decides. And the jury decides, what is your physical pain worth? What is your mental anguish worth? What's your physical impairment worth? In the past and in the future. So
this may seem like a dumb question, but I'm going to ask it anyway. Okay. So is the goal to help people like pull their lives together, to restore it back to where it was, and the foresight of, and we're looking at the future too? Does that make sense?
It does. A big component also Dr. Annette, is how much insurance coverage is available.
Mm.
You know, in a car wreck case where they got the minimum policy limits in
Mhm.
Texas, it's 30,000.
Wow.
So how far can 30,000 go? Not very far
Not
at
very
all.
far.
So if there's not underinsured motorist or a
Mhm.
person who hit them doesn't have more coverage, even though there may be a situation where that person will need counseling
Mhm.
for a longer
Mhm.
period of time, because people do get PTSD in car wrecks,
Mhm. Mhm.
you know, or they need more physical therapy, whatever their needs are. There's a cutoff.
Mhm.
They will never pay more than $30,000 on that case,
Mm.
no matter how bad the injury.
Mhm. Mhm.
You know, years ago, there was a man who came to me. He was in a really bad wreck, and he sent me the photos. And it was a wreck. The photo of his vehicle looked so bad. It was shocking. You thought, how did his man survive?
Mhm.
I mean, it was so much crush. It was like an
Wow.
accordion.
Wow.
But he only went to one ER visit.
Mm. Mhm.
And so the insurance company didn't care. They wanted to pay them.
Malcolm.
I'm sorry.
Okay. All right.
So the severity of the crash to the insurance company matters, but not a great deal,
Mhm. Mhm.
in my experience. It's the amount of medical treatment that they base their
Mhm.
valuations on,
Mhm.
mostly.
Okay. Okay. All right. Are all of these factors, I know you said there's not, an equation, but are they weighed equally? Do they differ?
Yeah. So when it comes to evaluating a personal injury case, let's stick to a car wreck case. That's, I think, what a lot of people can relate to. Mental anguish
Mhm.
does not have the same value as medical expenses.
Mhm. Mhm.
In fact, I would say that mental anguish has a very, very, very small piece of
Mhm.
settlement
Mhm. Mhm.
for most wrecks, depending on some, other things. So it's mostly the medical.
Mhm.
That's the biggest component.
Mhm.
And then, if you have can you find any bad facts, like were they
Mhm.
driving drunk? Of course, that can raise settlement evaluation. Any bad act outside of negligence can raise it. But in terms of the mental anguish part,
Mhm.
it's not on par.
I have a question. I just thought of something. So let's say hypothetically you have like a medical worker
Mhm.
and they contract some virus from the hospital setting. You know, I don't know. Let's just say, I don't want to be that extreme. I was going to say Ebola, but something.
Okay.
Is that also considered personal injury?
So that would not fall within my specialty.
Okay.
I mean, that certainly is a work injury. In work injuries, it's kind of something to think about.
Mm-hmm.
Is if in Texas, if the employer has workers' compensation,
Okay.
you can't
Okay.
sue your employer.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
It's only if they opt out
Mm-hmm.
that you can sue your employer.
Mm.
And so, a lot of times when people call in for a work injury,
Mm-hmm.
and I've got to look and see if their employer has workers' comp, and if they do, no matter how bad the accident,
Mm-hmm.
no matter how at fault the employer is,
Mm-hmm.
something I can do. But in the situation that you described,
Mm-hmm.
that's outside of my specialty.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I don't know the answer to that.
Okay. Okay. All right. Just I was thinking about it as you were talking.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So at what point do you decide, oh, this case is trial ready, or this case can move forward to trial,
Mm-hmm.
or let's settle this one? What helps you in making those decisions about cases?
What helps me decide that is what I think the case is worth,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
not only in terms of what I think an insurance company should pay,
Mm-hmm.
but I really trust juries.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And so I also evaluate, what do I think a jury could do with this case?
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of it comes down to my client.
Mm-hmm.
my client has the ultimate say,
Mhm.
whether he or she settles their case.
Okay. Okay.
And I have great respect for that. I will let them know with this offer,
Mhm.
X offer, I can get you more at trial.
Mhm.
Or with this offer, you're about where I think you'd be
Mhm. Mhm.
at trial.
Mhm.
And sometimes this offer is better than I think you can do at trial.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so, but the client decides.
Mhm.
The client decides. It's also a level of risk tolerance for
Mhm.
everybody
Mhm.
because, the firm puts money into a case.
Mhm.
You got to get records. There's so many case expenses involved, but it takes a lot more to get it ready for trial.
Mhm. Mhm.
And so, and then it ultimately, like, how much can I put in my client's pocket
Mhm.
that they can use for themselves and their families?
Mhm. Mhm.
But, sometimes you will just never get enough to compensate for what they've gone through.
Yeah. Mhm.
And you go to trial and you let the jury decide.
Mhm. Mhm. I'm thinking about that case in Atlanta where the doctor broke the baby's neck.
Oh.
Do you and during delivery,
Mhm.
that was shut down really quickly. So I assume that was a settlement.
Right. Right. And that'd be medical malpractice.
Yeah, yeah.
Which I don't do, but I think it'd be wonderful if insurance companies would pay the claims early on.
Mhm.
I hope that they did not drag it out for that family
Mhm.
because that happens often.
Wow.
The insurance, and I keep saying insurance companies because that's who we deal with most often.
Right.
But, they owe the money
Mhm.
and they sit on it because delay is another part of this.
Mhm.
Delay.
Mhm.
Like, I don't know any other industry where you owe the money
Mhm.
and you say, I'm not going to pay it.
Wow.
And that's okay.
Yeah. Mhm.
So I'm all for insurance companies
Mhm.
making those early decisions, sometimes hard decisions, and letting the family not have to endure the process.
Yes, I agree. Okay. We have any comments, questions, Malcolm?
Questions?
Mhm.
No, ma'am. But I would like to pay attention and pay respects to those who are tuned in on Instagram. We have plenty tuned in. I see y'all sticking your heads in. I see y'all sticking your heads in. You're more than welcome to call in.
Yeah, please do.
If you, your family member, your friends, anybody close to you has ever been in an accident, slipped and fallen in a store or restaurant, gotten bitten by a dog, we're discussing it here this evening with trial attorney Miss Cynthia Huerta. I got through it.
You got through it.
You did great.
Miss Cynthia Huerta is here, and she is here to answer all questions. I will put the phone number back at the bottom of the screen.
Okay.
If anyone has been injured and you need someone to go into court and battle for you, we're here to talk about settlements. We're here to talk about different injuries, and I did do my homework. I copied and pasted everything you'll go to court and fight for. Every injury, every accident, I copied them all down, and I'm like, okay, as soon as we get a break in between the doctor's comments, I'm going to ask about every last one of them, but you're covering them already.
Well, I haven't covered all of them.
Right.
There's more.
Okay. All right. Wow.
Okay. Welcome to the Wisdom Walk with Dr. Annette show. This show only has about 2 weeks left.
Yeah.
February 26th will be the final show. 23rd.
Yeah.
February 23rd will be the last show. Get ready for Rodney Hampton, everybody. If you're a football fan, Rodney Hampton will be in the building soon. But tonight, for right now, please tag anyone who's been injured, whether it was run over by a bus, a collision with an 18-wheeler, a hit and run with a vehicle, hit on a bicycle, slipped and fallen in a store, bitten by a dog, anything, and they need someone to represent them. Miss Cynthia Huerta is here. She's a trial attorney right here in Houston, Texas. The phone number will be at the bottom of the screen all night until 815.
Mm-hmm.
The number is 832-560-2885.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Back to the Wisdom Walk with Dr. Annette show.
And I'm also thinking about this because this is really just expanding what I thought I knew.
Mhm.
This even includes like plastic surgery, botched
Mm.
plastic surgery jobs, and
Mhm.
wow.
And that's medical malpractice also.
Okay,
Yes.
so it's not considered personal injury.
It is personal injury, but that's a whole
Yeah.
other body of law
Yeah.
that I don't do.
Okay. Okay.
And again, you want someone who knows the ins and outs and has the
Mm-hmm.
experience to go through
Mhm.
that with you. And so, yeah, you'd want someone who does medical malpractice.
Wow.
Professional medical malpractice.
Okay. Okay. All right. All right. So I believe, and if we didn't, I'll ask the question: who or how is it determined what a client needs and how much of a service a client needs? And you said that the insurance determines that.
Well, they decide the value of a settlement.
Mm-hmm.
You know, when a client goes to the doctor
Mm-hmm.
and the doctor makes a decision about what treatment the person needs,
Mm-hmm.
what diagnostic tests they need.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, we talked earlier about that upper approach.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And so the doctors decide that.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, sometimes if they're taken off for work, the doctor will decide if they have a very labor intensive job.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You know, a doctor may say, I don't want you working for the next 2 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
And so the person has to suddenly be faced with, what do I do?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. What do they do? I mean, you don't. Let me just give an example, and I'm not minimizing. All work is good work, okay? And I want to make sure that I'm clear. But let's say that you're working at a fast food restaurant, and you slip and fall because of some negligence of the restaurant. More than likely, that person is depending on that check every other week. So now they're off 2 weeks. What's happening during that time? Where's the compensation coming from? I think my past experience with cases, you know, of this nature is they were getting their money on the back end, or, you know, they had to wait a certain length of time for that compensation. What's happening during that time to keep people from going under?
Yeah. So in your hypothetical, it's a work injury. And if the employer has workers' comp, then workers' comp kicks in. But workers' comp doesn't always pay 100% of the wages. It's like 80% of the wages. So if you were barely making it on your paycheck, well, now you're not making it.
Yeah.
Do they increase it? No, they don't. Okay. And again, I don't do workers' comp because you're not allowed under the law to sue your employer. But let's say that you work for an employer that makes you sign a bunch of documents when you get hired on, and people just start signing away.
Yes.
Well, one of those documents is going to be more than likely an arbitration agreement, where if you get injured on the job, the law allows you to sue your employer, but you agree you're not going to sue your employer. You're going to go to arbitration instead. I'm not a fan of arbitration.
Right.
And so in that situation, under the plans, most plans will also pay an injured worker. Not always 100%, a different, less.
Miss Herta, Miss
Huerta.
all about.
Huerta.
I'll answer in a minute.
Okay.
Welcome to the Wisdom Walk with Dr. Annette show. Who do we have the pleasure of speaking with tonight?
I'm DJ.
Hello, DJ. How can we help you tonight?
Yeah, I want to talk to the lady.
Yes, ma'am. She's listening.
I'm trying to find me a single girl,
What?
and I'm broke. I can't find one in Hyman.
Go ahead and cut that off. Thank you. I appreciate that. Okay, folks, you know, we're live. Anything is subject to happen. Anyway, all right.
Okay. We do have a couple comments. I'm sorry about that, listening audience. We have DJ Craigline says DJ K, I love you, I love you. Do you know DJ Craig Line?
No, that was the person that just called.
Oh,
in.
that was okay.
Yeah.
Miss Victoria Williams is also tuned in on YouTube, and she says, "Great evening, everyone." And she also says, "This is good information." We also have Miss Angela Vieira. I think she's been injured before. This is her question. So, personal injuries conducted at a hospital or by a nurse is a different lawyer. I think she's saying, are those two different lawyers?
Yes, well, so personal injuries conducted at a hospital or by a nurse. So anything that happens in the context of receiving medical care, that's medical malpractice. And I don't do medical malpractice. You'd want to find someone who fully understands that area of law.
Okay. All right. Is that it, Malcolm?
Yes, ma'am. That was all. I can check Instagram right quick, but that was pretty much it.
Okay.
We'll chime back in just a minute.
Okay. All right. All right. So we talked about how this ties into the settlement plea piece. So again, we don't typically talk about the mental health aspect of a case, but again, you said earlier the post-traumatic stress piece. You know, if someone's been attacked by a dog or a car accident, and I will go on record in saying that I have some post-traumatic stress from an automobile accident that I was in years ago, where there was a flatbed, and I was in a little bitty car, and he didn't have any brake lights. And by the time when I realized that he didn't have any brake lights, I was looking at his axle. So I was underneath.
Oh my.
And I'll never forget that, you know, as long as I live. And to this day, if I'm riding with someone else who's driving, I'm slow down. You know that. Yes. So it does traumatize you, you know. And I don't like barricades. If I don't feel like I can get off, I'm like, no, we're not doing this. Let's go the scenic route, you know. But it leaves lasting effects. And so just settling doesn't help what I'm experiencing.
Right.
This is just something that, you know, I'm just gonna have to deal with. So my question is, for someone who settles and they're still dealing with this, is there any, I guess, recourse to reopen a case, or once it's done, it's done?
So in Texas, the statute of limitations is 2 years. So you can file your lawsuit within that time period. If you settle before, or anytime you settle your case, and that it's done.
It's done.
It's done. You can't come back because you're going to sign a contract. Did you settle your case?
Yeah, I did.
Okay, well, you signed a contract saying that in exchange for X amount of money, you're releasing all of these things, and your case is forever goes away. So that's why it's a really important decision about settling your case. You know,
it is.
It's a very important decision because you can never come back.
Yeah.
And say, you know what, I'm still having problems.
Yeah.
Can you give me an extra whatever?
Yeah.
You can't do it.
Yeah. And folks, let me just say for the record, don't go to a paralegal to do an attorney's job. I hear that a lot.
Well, I've never heard of that.
Yeah. You know, like with divorces and things like that. Oh, I went to a paralegal and they did my paperwork and we just filed.
No.
What are the dangers of that?
No.
You know,
well, that's unauthorized practice of law.
Yeah.
And you absolutely need someone who knows the law.
Yeah.
You know, because there's so many gotcha points and so many deadlines and things you have to understand to get the best recovery you can for your client.
Yeah.
And paralegals just don't have that knowledge.
A couple of weeks ago, I'm sorry. Yes.
We have a question. I was just waiting for you to
Oh, okay. All right.
We have one question there, and I have a question about malpractice.
Okay. All right. I'm going to let you handle this while I step up for a second.
Okay.
Handle my business. Okay.
I'll get to you in just a second, Ms. Victoria Williams.
All right. Go ahead.
The first question is medical malpractice. When I was looking for information about this upcoming interview, I looked at the whole list, like I was saying, and medical malpractice is on there. Now, a few minutes ago, you said that there's a statute of limitations and it's 2 years.
Correct.
That pertains to medical malpractice too, right?
That's correct.
So it's too late. Okay. So I know someone who had a surgery, and didn't mean to cut you off. I'm sorry. They had a surgery probably 8 years ago, or not, between 8 and 10 years ago. So it's too late for them to say anything. They really screwed up on the surgery.
Well, and this is where you want someone who really knows medical malpractice. Generally, it's 2 years. But the other thing about a little wrinkle there is when they knew or should have known. So if they didn't know that there was a problem with the surgery until later, that might be something to consider for them.
A loophole.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, ma'am. The second question is from Ms. Victoria Williams. She's tuned in on YouTube. Thank you, Victoria. What if you settle with an insurance company and realize there was an error? What would be your options?
Victoria, it depends. It depends. Did you get paid? Did you settle and cash the check? Did you sign the contract? If you signed the contract and received the money, it's a done deal.
Question number 2 from Victoria Williams reads as, what if you have an attorney that's not listening to your concerns, not returning your calls, taking a long time to settle your cases, or not listening to your health concerns?
Yeah.
Did I read that too fast?
No. You're great.
Okay.
So when you're choosing a lawyer, I've already talked to Dr. Annette about the, like the academic part of it.
Mm-hmm.
You want someone who understands the law, has experience doing it, and has been successful doing it.
Mm-hmm.
But the other component is that person listening to you?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Is that person returning your call? And so that's another part of hiring your lawyer is that comfort level.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you're not talking to your lawyer, then your lawyer doesn't have a full appreciation of the extent of your injury.
I think the fear for most people, though, is I don't have the money. When they hear lawyer, they think thousands of dollars. I don't have the money to retain a lawyer.
Mm-hmm.
How is that different, if at all, for a personal injury lawyer?
So the way that I do it and the way that we do it at the firm is it's a contingency fee agreement,
Mm-hmm.
which means that you never, ever, ever have to pull out your checkbook to give us any money up front.
Mm-hmm.
And so our fee is contingent on good work.
Mm-hmm.
Our fee is not, we sign up the case and we bill you periodically the way a lot of defense firms do.
Mm-hmm.
If I succeed in getting you a settlement,
Mm-hmm.
or I succeed at trial and get you a verdict,
Mm-hmm.
a judgment,
Mm-hmm.
then I get a percentage of that settlement or verdict.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Okay.
Mhm.
All right. So were the questions answered, Malcolm?
Yes, ma'am. She's answered them already.
Okay. All
I'll
right.
see if someone else has asked anything, and no, ma'am, they have not.
Okay. All right. What percentage of cases would you say go to trial?
The last statistic I saw on that, I saw two. One was 4% go to trial, and the other was 5% go to trial.
That's low.
That's very low.
Why do you think it's so low?
I think it's so low because trials are unpredictable.
Mm-hmm.
As prepared as you will be going to trial, you have no guarantee of what can happen,
Mm-hmm.
what a judge's ruling could be,
Mhm,
especially
mhm.
on some critical evidence that you feel you need,
Mm-hmm.
what evidence gets excluded
Mm-hmm.
or included,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and who are in the civil case, who are the 12 people sitting on your jury.
Mm-hmm.
We all come in with our experiences, our life
Mhm.
experiences, and no one can predict.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So the uncertainty, and I think there's also, lawyers are very competitive,
Mm-hmm.
and I think no one likes to lose,
Right.
not only for yourself, but for your client. You want to be
Yeah.
able to deliver certainty,
Right.
So, and then Harvey did a number in Harris County, well, all over Texas.
Mhm.
And then on top of that, COVID.
Mm.
So it takes longer to get a trial setting.
Mhm.
If it's a case that you really feel you're not getting a fair settlement offer on and you're going to trial, it's going
Mhm.
to take a long time to get there.
So are we still working in that 2-year window
You have 2 years to file a lawsuit.
to file it? Okay.
And then once you file, then there's a whole series of deadlines.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
But it's active and it can take 3-4 years to get a trial setting.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
To actually not get a trial setting, but to actually go to trial.
Go to trial.
And sometimes even longer.
Wow. Okay.
Mhm.
This was not part of the questions that I submitted, but what are the different specialties, I guess, of law? I know
There's so many.
so many. Okay. All
So
right.
many.
All right.
Yeah. There's transaction,
Mm-hmm.
litigation.
Mm-hmm.
When I first started practicing, that lawyer who I told you about,
Mm-hmm.
he had a transaction practice,
Mhm.
which is just reviewing paperwork, reviewing contracts, making changes.
Mm.
Didn't
Mm-hmm.
appeal to me.
Mm-hmm.
But there's many lawyers who do that. That's one area.
Mm-hmm.
And so many categories underneath that, really sophisticated stuff as well.
Mm-hmm.
And then on this side, you've got litigation.
Mm.
And, I do personal injury, but there's commercial, there's, patent law, there's just all kinds of stuff that fall into both transactional and litigation.
Mm. I want to go back, though, to something you said earlier about getting someone with the education, the experience. I recently had a family, and it opened my eyes to the whole legal piece when it comes to divorces, et cetera. The husband and the wife decided to go to mediation for their divorce.
Mhm.
And so, long story short, the language in the agreement, am I using that correctly? The language in the agreement is so vague
Mhm.
that they called me and asked me if I would intervene as the therapist
Okay.
to make a recommendation about the visitation between their kids. Okay, so they have this 50-50 thing going on. And in the decree, all it says is 1 week with the mom, 1 week with the dad.
Okay.
So here we are with spring break's coming up, and I want to take the boys to such and so. And mom is saying, oh no, that's my week.
Mhm.
But Mother's Day, that's his week. And he's saying, oh no, that's my week. And it hit me then, and I just said to them, I will not be a part of this.
Mhm.
I don't have any recommendations. Honestly, you all have traumatized these kids enough.
Oh, wow.
And this order is not even signed. This is just something that you all, so it can be a very dangerous place,
Mhm.
and that people will try to put you in. So I'm saying that to say this is, if you're going down that path with something like this, get a lawyer.
Yeah.
Don't think that, oh, I've done this before and I know and I can go in and talk for myself. These people, they live, eat, and breathe this.
Mhm.
So you're going to be eaten up and come out with the short end of the stick.
Right.
And I see that happening with that family. And I just said, no, I'm not doing it. But I'm seeing it more than I would like to see it. That's the point. That so
That's
many
too
families
bad.
are saying, we're not going to pay lawyers. We're just going to go to mediation. And I understand that. I do. But again, your decree, if you can call it that, is so vague that you wind up spending more money in the end than doing it right on the front end.
And again, I don't do family law, but I will say that part of maybe a step forward in that situation is figure out what you want. What do you want? And be able to communicate that. And then everything's a negotiation. What are you willing to give up? People could communicate better with each other. It'd go a long way. And so that's what lawyers can complicate things for sure, but we can also facilitate things.
Right. And again, it goes back to what you said, finding the right person. No one wants to feel like I'm just being strung along because I want this to be resolved. Now, but I also know I should trust my lawyer enough to say, okay, I lend to your expertise. But I have seen it in family. I've seen it where some attorneys have just drag things out and it becomes very complicated. And now you're in a situation where the family doesn't even have the money to pay.
Oh, it's sad.
It's very sad.
Yeah.
So people, be wise about your representation. Any other questions, Malcolm? I want to make sure I'm not missing anything. Call in, folks. The night is winding up, so call in.
No, ma'am, not from the listening audience, but I do have a question.
Okay.
I have a personal question about we on another show that we have here. We always talk about first-time buyers when they buy homes. Now, I know this sounds like it's not relative, but it is. And he says that when you're buying a home, a lot of people don't want to give a lot of the personal information because they feel like if they give too much of the bad stuff, that it's going to stop them from getting a home. Is that the same case? What do you do when you're representing someone?
Please tell me everything.
Yes.
I tell my clients, please tell me everything. And this is why it's so important for me to have built a relationship with my clients that they can say, Cynthia, it's not my proudest moment, but here's something you need to know. Because I can assure you, the defense side has already done the background check. They've got the databases. And if I know about it, I can protect. That's my job. I protect.
Yeah.
If I don't know about it, then I can't protect. And then it's, but it's going to come out in the long run anyway. Everything will usually come out.
Yeah.
So, but it's also sometimes understanding context, understanding situations that have come up, understanding explanations that need to be addressed as opposed to like one cold fact.
I watch a lot of movies, so that's what led me to ask that question. Along with, as I asked the question, I happened to look up and the gentleman that I'm referring to that always says what I just said is tuned in. He's about to bring a show back to Real Talk 100 Radio. It's called the Cup of Joe Morning Show. And he talks about first-time home buyers plans. He talks about mortgages, because a lot of people don't understand the ins and outs of mortgages on homes. He talks about the equity in your home. He talks about quite a few things. And he's tuned in on Instagram. Thank you, Cup of Joe. If you'd like to tune in, if you'd like to call in with any input, please call in. But he refers to that all the time. They come to me and they want a home. And it's like on the movies. You're sitting there and somebody's on trial for whatever, and the district attorney's eating them alive, and the attorney's going, "Why didn't you tell me this? I could have helped you."
Exactly.
And the same thing pertains to personal injury.
Yes.
Okay.
And and when my clients do take that leap of faith and confide in me, it's an honor. It really is, because it says I've earned your trust, and you trust me with this information.
Yeah.
Because dealing with your lawyer can be a very cold, sterile, interaction. It can be.
Yes.
In personal injury, it should not be. But it takes time to develop that relationship.
Yes. And I'll throw this in, not to be devil's advocate, but I'm sure, that some attorneys have biases, like I've seen this before, and it's kind of hard not to jump to conclusions about a particular case if you've seen it before, if that makes sense. I'll put it like this, and I'm making an open confession here. There are just some things that I hear, even before I know all the facts. It's like, yeah, I've been down this road before. When I'm talking to, to some people, every individual is a clean slate. How do you keep your mind like this is clean, this is different, this is not like the person who didn't give me all of the facts.
Yeah. And that's a really great question, Dr. Annette, because I think it comes down to your faith,
Mm-hmm.
Your walk, and understanding that every person is unique.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And that's just basically it.
Yeah, yeah.
Every person is unique.
Mm-hmm.
And, I'm not Malcolm and Malcolm's not me.
Mm-hmm.
And so if we have one piece of our story is similar, it doesn't mean we're the same,
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. And so it's so important to keep that open mind when you're doing personal injury work, because a lot of times people who don't have resources are the ones who get injured.
Yeah, yeah.
And so you just have to embrace and protect them.
Is there a gut though? Is there, and I can use me, just sometimes there's just gut or intuition that says, this person is withholding,
Definitely.
and how do you navigate?
Definitely. So your question earlier was about like a similar story, but I'm such a believer in the eyes, Dr. Annette. I can know the eyes. And if I'm talking to someone and I'm talking to my client and I look in their eyes and I don't see what I need to see, I know. I feel I know.
Yeah.
And then I go down a different road.
Yeah. Okay. All right. That's honest. Okay. All right. So what advice do you have for anyone seeking personal injury or seeking a personal injury lawyer?
I would say be sure the person specializes in that area.
How would they know? How would they find that out?
Websites are so informative.
Yeah.
Go to the website. The website also has reviews. Go see what people have said about that lawyer as far as reviews go. Talk to the lawyer. What's your first impression of your conversation with that lawyer? Ask them if this is their specialty. I would also ask them, have you taken a case like this one to trial before?
Yeah.
How often do you get to go to trial? And again, a lot of cases settle, but you have to have a lawyer who's willing to take you there if it's necessary.
And something else too, you have to have one who is personable, because going to talk to a lawyer can be very intimidating. And as you mentioned, most of the people who don't have the resources, maybe not the education, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
It can be very threatening. So you want to find someone who doesn't treat you like a case, but like a human being.
Right.
Yeah.
And also that you're going to have to explain, I'm going to have to explain more to that client than I would you.
Yeah.
And that client has eventually has to get to the point where they're comfortable, because they're going to have to testify, whether in a deposition or a trial. And a person feels more comfortable when they feel secure, right? And they feel secure when they understand the process. If you don't understand the process, to me, a different reaction and a different performance, not performance, but delivery.
The first time that I went to trial for a child custody matter, I was scared to death. Even with all that I know.
And you were the expert witness.
I was the expert witness. And so I had to get with my attorney so that he could coach me to prepare me for that trial.
I'm curious, what were you afraid of?
I was afraid of divulging too much information.
Okay, fair enough.
I was afraid that I would not say the right thing. And I was also afraid because I knew Dad's attorney was there to win, right? And so because I'm the expert, I said, she's coming for me. She's coming for me, right? But my attorney had done such a good job. And the mom's attorney and then the children's attorney, I felt like I had those two people looking out for me, because again, you got mom saying this needs to be changed. And then you have the amicus who's saying, yeah, that needs to be changed. But dad's attorney, well, I see your notes say blah, 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 right? So what I learned from that is you have to dot your I's and cross your T's because they're coming for you.
Exactly.
And it is never nice to be in the middle of a child custody, because that's primarily what I do, child custody. And you just never know where they're coming from. So it made me go back and, as the old folks say, woodshed, to make sure that, again, those I's are dotted, those T's are crossed, and this is specifically what was said. Don't add to it. I don't have an opinion about it. This is what happened. And I came out.
What you know.
Yeah, you know what you know. And I came out unscathed. And I walked out of there like a champ. I'm like, bring on the next case. Bring it.
Exactly.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
That's great.
Yeah.
You're not scared anymore.
No, I wouldn't say that.
Okay.
Because there's always
Every case
some
is different.
fear. There's always some anxiety. I know I have to go have a trial coming up next month, but it is what it is. And all I have to do is state the facts and leave it there. So, but again, there's that still that little piece of anxiety that, are you going to ask me something crazy?
Yeah.
But all I can say, and what I said then was, this is what was said. This is what we've done. And I left it.
And
So
that's the only thing you can do as
yeah.
an expert witness.
You cannot get blood from a turnip. This is it. So don't try to finagle me. Don't try to, manipulate my words. But
And was it a jury trial or a bench trial?
it was a bench trial.
Okay. But when you do it that way, I believe your credibility just comes up here. And the judge knows it, the defense lawyer knows it, everybody knows it. That this person is speaking the truth.
Yeah. Something else too. My first trial is I didn't know court procedure. You sit out in the lobby, then the bailiff comes and walks you in. I'm just walking in, ready, right? I was quickly shuffled out the door, back to the lobby.
Sure.
Exactly, back to the lobby. And I was like, oh, okay. And then it was, go over, what do I do? So just learning more about court procedure has also helped me.
Exactly.
And just doing that extra work to make sure that I am a proficient therapist or an expert witness when I go to court.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because there's so many nuances, so many rules.
Yeah.
And it's so formal. The procedure is very formal. So, that's good.
Yeah. So we're ready now. All right. So I recall back in the day where attorneys earned like 33 1/3% of, I guess,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay.
That's been a long time.
Yes.
Because somebody told me it was closer to 50% now.
Yes.
All right. So what is it?
So the fees generally are 33% on the low end, 50% on the high end, on the higher end. For me and at my firm, if we get the case settled without having to go through the litigation process and file a lawsuit, then the fee is 33 1/3%. If I have to file a lawsuit and go through the litigation process, it's 40%.
Wow. Okay. Oof. So 40% of $1 million. Woo! I'm in the wrong profession. Wow. Okay. All right. That's good to know. What do you think about that, Malcolm?
I'm laughing at you because you said you're in the wrong profession.
I'm in the wrong profession.
Yeah, that's good money.
Yeah, it is.
Yes,
It
ma'am.
is. But a lot of work goes into that too.
It does. And, not every case yields that.
Mhm.
You've got some cases that you work hard on, and then maybe the judge tosses it out. And all of your case expenses and all of your time, that's one of the things, like on a contingency fee, the client will never pay unless they make a recovery. So, there are losses as well.
Wow.
There are victories, and it depends on the case.
Okay. All right. So you and I have discussed the need for mental health therapists in litigation. I want you to speak to that because I think I have some therapist friends who are watching.
Great.
Mm-hmm.
You know, in a car wreck case, there are so many physical therapy places that I can
Mm-hmm.
help a client go to. Lots. And that's not the case for mental health.
Mm-hmm.
I can think of maybe less than 3.
Wow.
I mean, there's a huge
Mhm.
gap. There's a
Mhm.
huge need there too.
Mm-hmm.
Because when I hear my clients talk, I just think, gosh, they'd benefit so much from
Mm-hmm.
just talking to someone,
Mm-hmm.
you know. And then also, you know, there's one of the elements of damages is mental anguish,
Mm-hmm.
and they can talk about it.
Mm-hmm.
But if a therapist were to come in and explain
Yeah.
all of these things that a lot of times as lay people we just don't know,
Right.
it
Mm-hmm.
would really, really help. I don't know about the insurance companies, but it certainly would help the juries understand what the person has gone through and be able to really evaluate that element of damage.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So I would love to see more. I
Yeah.
really would love to see more
Mm-hmm.
people come into that space.
Yeah. Is there a training class for a therapist? And
Litigation, I don't know of one.
yeah. Well, I told you I've registered for the mediation course offered by Harris County because I want to increase my knowledge of litigation and all of that stuff. So that would be awesome if there were a class for therapists to learn more about testifying in court and so on and so forth.
There would be. And you know what? That may just come like in practice through experience.
Yeah.
You know,
Mm-hmm.
but the mediation course sounds interesting.
Yeah.
That wouldn't necessarily be litigation.
Right.
Mediation, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I was thinking about when it comes to like visitations and things like that, just having that knowledge, but we'll see.
Yeah,
we'll see. Okay. All right. So we're almost done. What advice do you have for aspiring students, individuals who want to go to law school?
All right. So I would say if you're someone who likes to read a lot, because there's a lot of reading, someone who enjoys critical thinking, like really enjoys it, start preparing for the LSAT. Take it a couple of times and start applying.
Did you nail it your first time out, Cynthia?
I think so. I didn't have a plan. You know, my friend took a course. She had a plan. So I took it and I did well, not Harvard well, obviously, but I did well enough to get into a few schools, several Texas schools. And, but you don't know until you try, you know? So I would just say, just take the step. Maybe do a few practice tests. Take the LSAT. And, you know, it's also how dedicated are you to getting into law school? Because don't let one bad LSAT score prevent you from doing it. Keep going.
Yeah.
And then once you're in law school, it's a challenge. It's a challenge for a lot of people. And especially if you didn't come from a background of having professional parents, like my parents are not professionals, and not having that frame of reference, it's going to be a whole new world.
Yeah.
And, but just stick with it. It's perseverance. It absolutely is perseverance. And so once you're in law school, do a clerkship. Even if you're not that interested in the area of law, people will want to help you, you know, especially if you are someone who seems really interested, people will want to help you. So get clerkships, and you just don't know what's going to happen next.
Now, you had your own practice for a while.
A very short time.
Okay.
A very short time. So when I worked at that firm that I told you about, at that point, I knew I wanted to do trial work, but that practice was transactional. So then I got a job. I got a job at a civil defense firm representing insurance companies and trucking companies. And so I did that for several years. And, I just got to a point where I just thought, God willing, I'm going to have a long career and I don't want to do this. This is not what I want to do. So I decided I was either going to open my own practice or switch sides and go to personal injury. And I was prayerful about it. And I opened up my own practice for a period of a few months, maybe 4 months.
Okay.
And so during that 4-month period, I was just ecstatic. I was overjoyed. And then I called a lawyer I knew who was a plaintiff lawyer about a case I didn't quite know how to evaluate whether it was a good case as a plaintiff. I didn't develop that skill yet. And he said, come work over here. And I was like, I started my own practice. And so I didn't have that long as a solo practitioner. Yeah.
Now, this was not one of the questions, but I'm thinking about it. Was it difficult, or is it difficult for you as a woman to be in this field? And have you ever felt like you were slighted because you're a woman?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, for sure. So I've been in practice now for, I think, like 22 years. It's very different now. When I first started, very young, looked young. And whenever I'd show up for a deposition and opposing counsel was there, I was always asked, are you the translator? Or are you the court reporter? I was never asked, are you counsel? Anytime I'd go to court, I guess I just looked young back then. And I think that people, again, law is a very competitive field. And so definitely early on, for sure. But this is where I think that my upbringing helped me so much, because having 3 brothers, they didn't intimidate me.
Yeah.
It was just different. But for sure. But I think that there are also many advantages to being a woman lawyer, especially when it comes to client interaction. And then it's great when they underestimate you, which, still happens.
I can see how they could let the face fool them, like, here you are, this petite woman walking in, but you carry a big stick.
And I'm prepared.
Yeah. Awesome. All right. So any final words for our viewers?
Well, thank you for letting me be here and talk about all of this. And thank you for letting me chat with you all.
Yeah.
I think it's great to be able to tell you about what we do. And I just want to tell you that I've got tremendous respect for you.
Oh, thank you.
And before you asked me to be on your show, and we were talking a little bit, I thought, I'm so amazed by Annette, Dr. Annette.
Stop! I don't want to cry my lashes off.
No. I've known you a long time.
Yeah.
And you have this incredible gift of trusting God and following a new path. And I don't see the fear. Fear is not a big part of your life. And I think that's beautiful. And I respect that so much.
Thank you. Oh, Cynthia, not tonight.
No, I just want to let you know that. And I think your viewers need to know that as well.
Well, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I'm sure they already know it.
Oh my gosh. I just, I didn't get to this place because of me. God allowed me to do everything else that I wanted to do. And he said, but I told you to be a therapist. That's a whole nother story. That's a whole nother show. But
you trusted.
I did. And really, I didn't have a choice. And let me tell you why.
Okay.
Because I was working for this company, and I was getting ready to leave to go do something else. And the business manager said, don't leave, let them lay you off. She knew a layoff was coming. She said, just get your unemployment, all of that stuff. Sure enough, 2 weeks later, they laid me off. And I'm like, well, Lord, what am I going to do? And he said, I told you to become a therapist.
Mm.
And I said, I don't want any debt. I don't want this. And he said, I got you, go. This is a true story. Now, I had just paid, well, was about to start paying for that PhD. I'd never had any loans or anything like that until the doctorate. Everything else was scholarship, just out of pocket. And I said, well, I'm in this place. Let me go ahead and do it. I went into that program, finished that program in 2018. January 2019, I received a text message on my phone saying, you qualify for loan forgiveness.
Okay.
August 2018, January 2019.
Oh my.
And I'm like, what is this? I just graduated, blah, blah, blah. And I kept deleting the message. But they kept calling and texting. And I said, let me just call to find out what's going on. So I called, I spoke to this lady, and I said, listen, what is this? I just graduated, and you're saying that I qualify for loan forgiveness. She said, yes, your name is on the list. And I said, well, how can that be? And she said, well, it is. Well, she was part of one of those companies that they want to do the legwork for you. And I said, no, I will call myself and find out if this is so. Mm-hmm. And so I called the student loan place, and the lady said, yes.
Okay.
So when you talk about God, he said, I got you. I didn't know he had me like that.
So your fear was the debt.
I just didn't want it.
Yeah.
Because I had already started paying on the PhD. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, hey, if I can pay this another 2 years, then it'll be student loan forgiveness, right? Mm-hmm. But long story short, I called, the lady said, yes, you just need to complete this particular form. And I said, okay. So I downloaded the form. But at that time, I was working for myself. I was still doing contract work. Okay. And so she said that I had to get the person that I was doing the contract work for to sign saying that I worked there. Okay. Well, I went to that person, and that person told me no. She said, I won't sign because technically you contract with us. You don't work for us.
Oh my goodness.
Right? I called the student loan people back, and I told them what she said. Mm-hmm. She said, ma'am, do they give you a check? I said, yes. She said, you work for them. Go ahead and complete that paperwork and send it in. I kid you not. It was like the next 24 hours, I got an email saying that my student loan had been forgiven.
Wow.
So
wow.
There are so many things, and I know we're talking about law tonight, but I have to just share this. Mm-hmm. There are so many things that he has done for me. And why not trust him?
Yeah.
When I lend to my own way, mm-hmm. and I'm going to do it my way, I always fail. Mm-hmm. But he has never failed me, ever.
That's
and
beautiful.
So that's what I try to impart on people. Yes, we're in a hurry, we're impatient, but do it his way. Mm. And it's going to turn out right.
I think that's wonderful. I think that's really, really, I see it.
Yeah. And where I used to be in this place of wanting a lot of things. Oh, I want a Corvette. Oh, I want this. I don't want any of those things now. It don't matter. Mm. I care about peace. I care about happiness, and I care about my soul. That's what I care about. Mm-hmm. Care about my soul.
That's beautiful.
So thank you.
On piggybacking off of Cynthia, mm-hmm. Miss Victoria Williams on YouTube says Dr. Williams is very inspiring and empowers so many without knowing. She is such a pillar of a blessing in her community and everyone's life.
Oh, thank you.
That's what Miss Victoria had to say. She also said, Miss D. Rochelle Sampay said, Annette and fear.
Oh, goodness. Yeah.
That's your girl. She's been tuned in all night on Instagram and now Facebook. So.
Yeah. So I know we're a little early, but I think that does it for us tonight, and it doesn't matter. Cynthia's been in trial all day, and
okay.
I have an old lady at home I need to go check on.
Okay.
But this is your last opportunity to call in, guys. If you have any questions, thoughts, or something that you want to share, something on your mind, we do have a couple more weeks to the show. Next Friday, we will discuss family wellness. I will have another therapist here who is running a nonprofit organization, and we're going to just talk about complete family wellness and what that looks like, on generations to come. The last Friday, I'm going to have Rodney Hampton, who is retired from the New York Giants. And I'm super excited to have him here. He was just inducted, I think, into the Hall of Fame last year. And I tell you, God is so good. I'll give you the short on that. His wife is also a therapist, and her office is around the corner from mine. Now, I didn't know anything about him, right? But she was coming out of her office the first time we met, and I saw that she had play therapist somewhere. And I said, "Oh, you're a fellow play therapist." And we just hit it off, just started talking, referring clients to one another, and just having conversation. Well, I think she looked me up on Facebook because, it connects you like that when somebody's looking at your page. And I said, "Oh, that's her." And I said, "Let me go and check it out." And I said, "Oh, what?" And I saw all of his pictures and everything. And I said, "Oh, Andrea has to do me a prop." So I went around and she said, "Hey girl, how you doing?" I said, "I'm great. I want your husband on the show." She said, "Oh, you got it. I'll ask him." Just like that. Just like that. You got it. I'm going to ask him. She said, "Don't you worry about it." And she sent me everything I needed to put the flyer and everything together. And she said, "Oh, yeah," he said, "Yes, we'll be there." So
Wonderful.
That's awesome, isn't it?
That's really, really
What a
wonderful.
way to close the show.
Does anybody say no to you? Because you asked me,
yeah.
I was like, okay. I'm not going to say no to Dr. Annette.
Yeah, some people say no, and I respect the
Okay,
no. I
okay.
respect the no.
I haven't seen anybody say no yet either. Not yet.
Uh-huh.
I'm trying to think of when someone said no. Because really, no doesn't always mean not ever. It just may mean not now.
Not now.
And so, so I'll go back to them. And if the answer is still no, then it's just no. And I go do something else. So,
Yeah.
So,
Well, it's going to be an exciting show.
I'm sorry?
That's going to be an exciting show.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So I'm looking forward to it. And I'm going to get them to sign some autograph pictures and have people call in for that.
Nice.
So, So I'm looking forward to it.
Dr. Annette, I know it's not completely off subject,
Yeah.
but we just started a sports talk show.
Oh, wow.
And if you could be my little bug in his ear and tell him
Well,
that
he'll be here, so you can talk to him yourself.
You're right. And I won't be overstepping, will I?
No. And what about Logan
Who?
that played for the Chiefs?
Uh,
Loganitis Jim.
Oh, yes, both of them. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Mhm.
Seattle Seahawks. And I would love it. I can't even talk right now because I'm a sports fanatic.
I see Logan at least 3 times a week.
Oh, you do?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay. I'll definitely have to. He's a fan of mine now because of you.
Oh, good.
We follow
good.
each other, and he shares a lot of our information, and I share a lot of his on our stories.
Yeah, he introduced me to a guy who has just gone pro. That's working out at his gym too, and he's going to do an event for the adoptive kids that I work with the first Saturday in April, and he's going to call one of his buddies from. Who was he playing for? The Chiefs, right?
Who?
Logan. Yeah.
Seattle Seahawks.
Okay, so he's going to call one of his buddies that plays and have that person come down to help him that weekend. So that's the first Saturday in April.
Boy.
Mhm.
Boy.
He's getting excited.
I can't wait for Sunday. I'm already licking my chops for Sunday.
Mhm.
We just started the show, and we're trying to become. Not only are we trying to become an FM radio station,
Mhm.
we're trying to become one of the largest sports shows.
Mm.
And that would be a dream come true for me because I still to this day I've been out of sports. I haven't played competitive sports since I was 20.
Yeah.
Freshman at U of H,
Mhm.
and I'm still a fanatic.
Mhm.
I'll follow high school kids all the way to the NFL.
Mhm.
Anyway, this is our sports show, y'all. I could talk sports all night, so I got to cut myself short. This is our brand new sports show right here.
Mhm.
It's called Game On Sports. We want y'all to tune in
Nice,
every
nice.
Tuesday night from 7 p.m. to 9 p.m.
Mhm.
Yes, we are from Houston, Texas, and we love our Houston Rockets, Houston Astros, and Houston Texans, but we want to talk about everything,
Mhm.
all sports, all teams. So, yeah, I don't know what I was thinking about, but yeah, he'll be here.
Yeah, he'll be here.
So I'm going to ask him myself
Yeah,
to come and be a part of this. That would be awesome.
yeah. He's from Houston. Went to
Yes.
Cashmere High School, and
Yes.
yeah.
I went to Kashmir for all of 3 months.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
I was a little misled back then, living the wrong life, and my parents were like, "Nope, you're coming out here."
Mhm.
They had gotten a divorce,
Mhm.
and my mom stayed there in Fifth Ward,
Mhm.
one neighborhood over, and my dad had moved out here.
Mhm.
So they were like, "Nope, you're not going down that route. You're moving out here with your dad."
Yeah.
I still ended up getting in trouble,
Yeah.
rebelling, but they tried.
Well, hopefully you'll come to our camp the first Saturday in April, and I'll keep you posted on it.
The camp is it going to be a Loganitis?
It's going to be a Logonitis, yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
That sounds interesting.
Okay.
Very.
So yeah, I'm hoping that some other athletes will call in that night, and maybe we can get you connected.
That would be a dream.
Yeah.
A dream. Oh my God, that'd be a dream.
Mhm.
I've been in talks with Vince Young,
Mhm.
with his team. I've been in talks with Eddie George's team.
Mhm.
I want to have somebody like, you probably don't know who this is, but DJ Lagway.
I don't know.
He won Gatorade Player of the Year.
Mhm.
Any other sports fanatics out there? He won Gatorade Player of the Year.
Mhm.
That's a distinguished award that's given to the best high school player in the nation.
Mhm.
Willis High School. He was a quarterback at Willis High School. I tried desperately to get them in here.
Well, I'm going to drop this in. Their daughter, the Hamptons' daughter,
Mhm.
that girl is Olympic bound.
Is she?
She's #1 in track and field across the nation.
Really?
Yes.
Where?
Mm.
Well, I don't have all of the details.
Okay.
It's just conversations her mother and I have had, and she says she is #1
I want her
across the
here.
nation. Yeah.
I want her here
Mhm.
because I want to be a part of the community. I want to
Yeah.
reach out in the community and say, hey, these are the people we need to be supporting.
Mhm.
You know,
Mhm.
the good doctor, we need to be supporting Cynthia. We need
Yeah.
to be supporting, DJ Lagway and I don't know her name yet, the Hamptons' daughter.
Mhm. Mhm.
That's part of the show,
Yeah.
the sports show.
Yeah.
Because sometimes we live in communities and we don't even know who's doing what.
Mhm. Mhm.
Her neighbors might not even know she's Olympic bound. They need to know.
Oh, I'm sure they know. I'm sure.
I'm
I'm sure they know exactly, and I don't blame them. Yeah.
Well, you know how some neighbors are.
Mhm.
We'll see each other getting the mail in our boxers and our
Mhm.
nightgowns and won't even speak sometimes.
Yeah. That's true.
Sometimes.
Mhm.
I make it a point to speak,
Yeah.
but some people don't.
Yeah.
But
Well, they're very approachable, so I think he would really like hearing that from you.
okay.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Mhm.
So, in closing
Yeah.
tonight.
Yeah.
Cynthia, did you get everything out that you
Mhm.
needed to get out about your practice?
I think so. There's a lot more we could have covered,
Mhm.
but thank you for the opportunity to talk to people about what we do.
Yeah. Mhm.
Okay. How do they contact you if they're injured? I have the whole list up here.
Mhm.
I'm sorry, I got out of where I was at.
Mhm.
I wrote down. I told you earlier. I did my homework, and here's the whole list. Everybody, no, it's not. I'm in the wrong spot. I'm sorry, I lost it.
Mhm.
I lost it. I had the whole list of everything that she represents, every court case that she could possibly represent in court,
Mhm.
and I've misplaced it. I copied it and pasted. I misplaced it. So just tell them right quick, every case that you represent. That's a possibility.
Sure. So it's car wrecks, trucking wrecks, wrongful death cases, railroad injury cases, work injuries that does not involve workers' comp, dog bite cases. I messed any. I don't think I've left anything out, but those are generally the ones that we work on.
What would the case be called? That you shared with the waxing. What is that?
That's just a negligence case.
Negligence. Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. All right.
And if anyone wants to reach me, just my email address, which is chuerta@smslegal.com.
Okay. All right.
Awesome. Thank you, Cynthia, for coming tonight. Good doctor. Anything from you in closing tonight?
welcome. Oh, no. I just look forward to people tuning in next week and then the last Friday of this month. Let's go out with a bang.
Bravo.
You heard it from the good doctor, everybody. Thank you. Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, and Facebook. Thank y'all for tuning in tonight. I will put Miss Cynthia Huerta's
You got it.
information on the screen right now. God help me. Miss Cynthia Huerta's information is on the screen right now. Cynthia Huerta Esquire, personal injury attorney. If you need legal representation, all you have to do is contact her at chuerta@smslegal.com. The information is on the screen right there, everybody. I also want you to make sure you patronize the good doctor's business. It's called Williams Counseling and Play Therapy. She sponsors her own show. You can find her information at the website that's on the screen right there. www.williamscounselingplaytherapy.com. Go to her website. Tell them right quick, doctor, what do you offer therapy for?
Whoa, that's a loaded question.
Uh-oh.
So I guess I can just answer that by saying mental health therapy for depression, anxiety, just a litany of areas. But I have a certification as a play therapist and a certified autism specialist. So I see adults and children.
Okay. Adults and children. Contact her at the above website. You can also contact her at I'm sorry, I thought I had your number ready. Uh-oh.
That's all right.
I do not.
832-273-9513.
And also, there's a website on the screen now. Is the buy one, get one still available?
Yeah, still available.
Buy one, get one free session, therapy session with Dr. Annette Williams. There's there's an email right there on the screen, and I will put the actual voucher up on the screen. All you got to do is maybe take a picture of the screen and present it to her as upon arrival, and she will honor that. Free therapy sessions by Williams Counseling and Play Therapy, PLLC. There's her phone number right there on the screen, 832-273-9513. Do you accept text also?
I do. I do.
Call or text 832-273-9513. That brings us to a close, everybody. On the Wisdom Walk with Dr. Annette show, I will put the flyer up right quick to let y'all know exactly what you witnessed tonight on the show. This is the show right here. That is catch up with myself. There we go. That is the flyer right there on the screen. And you see Miss Cynthia Huerta is on the screen. She was our special guest tonight. There's a little information about her. She's a trial attorney. If you ever get injured in any of the below incidents, wrongful death cases, car accidents, 18-wheeler accidents, on the job injuries, railroad injuries, premises liability. That means if you go and you slip and you fall on somebody's premises, whether it's a restaurant or some other establishment, she can represent you. That's all we got tonight, y'all, on the Wisdom Walk with Dr. Annette show. We'll see you next Friday night from 6:15 to 8:15. Thank you, everybody. We thank you for the likes, the shares, the comments. If you're watching the replay, please put hashtag replay in the comments. And please, please, please patronize the small businesses that have been before you tonight. Good night, everybody. From Dr. Annette and Miss Cynthia.
Thank you.
And good night from me at Real Talk 100 Radio. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.